Dodds.
Mr. Speaker, as a result of the Chief Constable's assessment arising out of the recent events in Northern Ireland, does the Secretary of State agree that it cannot be business as usual as far as the Northern Ireland political institutions are concerned? The Democratic Unionist Party, speaking on behalf of many thousands of people who actually elect us in Northern Ireland, are very clear that this matter cannot be swept under the carpet, fudged or ignored. We are not prepared to continue as if nothing has happened. Murder has happened, carried out by those who are linked to a party of government. Just imagine if that were to happen here, that a party linked in government, linked to a paramilitary organisation still in existence, whose members carry out murder on the streets of the United Kingdom. It's an intolerable situation. It must be sorted out, Mr. Speaker, at the talks, or serious consequences will flow from failure, striking at the very existence of devolution. Does the Secretary of State accept the need to deal also with the criminality of the Provisional Republican movement and other paramilitaries? And will she accept that as one of the options, and she has hinted at this already, that it may be forced to consider, is to suspend the Assembly and the political institutions in order in the long run to restore and maintain any hope of long-term viability of devolution and the Assembly? And on the second aspect of the talks, it must be about implementation of the Stormont House Agreement, not a renegotiation. And referring to the previous remarks by the former Secretary of State, instead of a blanket condemnation of all politicians of Northern Ireland, he and other members of this House should realise that there are parties in Northern Ireland who are prepared to move forward, make the difficult decisions, implement welfare reform, and it is Sinn Fein and, sad to say, the SDLP who have blocked those decisions. So let's be very clear where the blame lies. It is not with all the politicians and political parties of Northern Ireland. It is now about getting on with implementing the Stormont House Agreement, which all the parties, including Sinn Fein, signed up to. That is what must happen in these talks, or else we're going to have a very serious situation.
Well, I do recognise that it can't be business as usual. That's why the Prime Minister has moved swiftly to establish this fresh talks process, to address with urgency just the sort of questions he has outlined. And of course, overshadowing all of this is of course the fact that two individuals have been brutally gunned down on the streets of Belfast. He raises the matter of criminality amongst members of the Provisional IRA. Any criminality is to be condemned, whether it's committed by a member of a paramilitary organisation or whether it's not. Whatever label these people choose to give to themselves, they are criminals, and the PSNI have the government's full support in pursuing them and bringing them to justice and putting them in prison where they deserve to be. The Right Honourable Member mentioned suspension. As I said in response to the Shadow Minister, I'm afraid that's not something that we feel would be right to do in current circumstances. If those circumstances were to change dramatically in the future, we would of course have to keep all our options open to us and consider all of them. And I would fully agree with his statement that on the subject matter of the talks and the Stormont House Agreement, we are not renegotiating, we are simply finding a way to relieve the blockage of implementation and make sure the agreement is implemented in full.